Okay, so we're going to go ahead and begin now. I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Gonzalez, and I will be moderating today's webinar. Our webinars are designed to provide you with targeted answers without taking up too much of your time. So today we will address the benefits shippers and freight forwarders receive by using the TK'Blue solution. So today we have three presenters. We have Christophe Onfray, Director of International Development, and we have Christine Rouchet.
Hello.
She's a Sales Director for UK and Ireland. And we also have Milan Dolinar, Sales Director for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
Hello.
All right, so just to get a general understanding of TK'Blue, we'll be playing our short video titled Understand TK'Blue in 30 Seconds.
Day in, day out, your company needs goods. Do you wish to optimize costs and improve quality while taking care of the environment? TK'Blue brings you the solution. We label all your carriers according to their materials and equipment. By doing so, we help you make the right choices and calculate your greenhouse gas emissions, pollutants, and particles generated by your transport operations. Be eco-responsible while improving the quality of your transports.
All right, so the mission of TK'Blue Solution is to improve the economic and environmental performance of goods transportation. So TK'Blue has over 1,000 users that have already successfully adopted the TK'Blue solution. As you can see, shippers from all types of sectors, such as retail and distribution, food and beverages, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and also in the manufacturing for like companies in the cement industry. And we also have some freight forwarders that have adopted our solution as well. I just want to state, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box and I'll bring them up at the end of the presentation. So now, without a further ado, we will turn the time over to Milan. So
Thank you,
Milan,
Jennifer.
yeah, no problem. Can you just inform us about the TK'Blue's international services?
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. I would also like to welcome our listeners. Since TK'Blue was founded, it was clear that the key to a trusted third-party measurement is to rely on a widely accepted methodology. That's why TK'Blue has partnered with several universities in Europe that are experts on transport, like the University of Antwerp, Torino, and Lausanne, and many others. These universities are a key part of our efforts to provide to the industry the most robust measurement solution available in the sector, and even more important, to keep it up to date. TK'Blue also organizes every 6 months an international meeting with scientists and transport specialists that they discuss the latest findings on environmental protection and suggest solutions on how to measure them. Last but not least, our methodology and our algorithms are audited and verified by the Bureau Veritas to meet the European legal reporting rules. As TK'Blue's primarily specific focus is on the environmental and social impact of transport, it is complementary to other CSR solutions for transport and management. That's why TK'Blue has also close relationship with international CSR agencies, consulting firms, and leading transport solutions. So if you have already a solution in place, I'm confident that we can also link our service to it and enhance it with our calculations. Can you switch to the next slide, please? TK'Blue's global coverage. TK'Blue was from the very beginning conceived as an international service, using the same certified methodology to compare easily results globally. In addition, TK'Blue measures all transport flows, all modes of transport on a global base, Indeed, we can collect and report on transportation in Asia Pacific, Africa, Europe, Americas, and Australia. TK'Blue can measure all transport up and downstream flows, as well as the full supply chain from raw material to the point of sales. It is obvious that we had to consider all transport modes like road, train, plane, and sea. In the attempt to make the environmental impact of transport as exhaustive as possible, we can measure and include in our report the footprint of storage during the transport route. TK'Blue is prepared to help you to answer all questions on the environmental impact of transport, independently from the location or the transport mode. And I would need, thank you. International labeling is an important part of our work. TK'Blue is today measuring more than 200 million flows of transport goods all over the world. As a result, our database is growing every day. Today, we already have for example, more than 120,000 trucks just in Europe in our database, with detailed information like the registration number, fuel consumption, gearbox, etc. And we don't stop there. We also collect the skills and the training of the drivers, like if they have been trained on economical driving, which leads directly to an adjustment of in the calculations. The details TK'Blue is collecting allow us to have very accurate calculations, that is going beyond simple average numbers, which is important as it also reflects much better the efforts that most companies take to improve their environmental footprint. So Jennifer, I hope this gave you a good overview on how TK'Blue operates.
Yes, thank you, Milan. It was interesting. I just want to welcome everybody from Levi's who has tuned in today. I just want to quickly say that if you have any questions, feel free to just type it into the chat box. So just to summarize quickly, Milan, I just want to state a few things. So TK'Blue can measure all modes of transport globally. TK'Blue is certified by Bureau Veritas and is backed up by scientific universities. And due to the collection of information TK'Blue has in its database, it does not just give averages out, it gives its clients actual, real, accurate information. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. You summarized that perfectly. Thanks.
Great. So now we're going to go ahead and listen to Christine's informative presentation. If you could just please explain us, Christine, how the TK'Blue solution complements shippers' goals and the key sustainability advantages.
Thank you, Jennifer. Welcome as well to our listeners today. I will tell you how TK'Blue helps the suppliers' CSR strategy, their sustainable goals and priorities. When we meet customers and prospects, they usually tell us their main desires regarding sustainable transport. There are actually 7 key wishes and needs they express. They need costs to reduce the cost caused by low quality transport operations. You're going a bit fast, I'm sorry. They want to comply with CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions, as well as the norms, and meet the corporate goals. They wish very often to improve the purchasing process and transport tenders. They need to evaluate the performance of the carriers based on facts and ensure the sustainable progress. They also need to verify certification, social and tax certification of carriers, as well as the documentation. They wish to communicate the CSR progress and efforts with customers, employees, and local authorities. And finally, last but not least, they wish to promote their company's excellence with investors and financiers? Well, if your company answers yes to one or several of these key wishes, then TK'Blue can help you. All right, now let's go to the three constraints, because shippers have desires, but at the same time, they encounter many constraints. Shippers need to reduce the impact of transport in three areas. Well, first impact is on the planet, which is threatened by global warming caused by CO2 and GHG emissions. The second impact that needs to be emphasized is on the people and on their health. Pollution goes beyond the CO2 emissions. Therefore, TK'Blue addresses also the other negative externalities, the NOx, the SOx, the small particles, as well as noise, congestion, accidents, which in turn will affect, of course, consumers, employees, and the community in general. As you need to protect the planet and the people, you need to save your profit, I guess, and be performant with more competitive prices and a reduction in low-quality transportation operations. This, in turn, will help the company improve its corporate image towards consumers, employees, investors, and all your stakeholders. And now, how TK'Blue addresses its environmental 3Ps. Jennifer?
All right, thank you, Christine. It is definitely certain there are many obligations and needs that companies must take care of, and TK'Blue can certainly help them out by addressing the important 3Ps, which are the planet, the people, and the profit. And lastly, Christophe, can you present a TK'Blue solutions and benefits?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Jennifer. The way TK'Blue ensures that the travel is optimized from an environmental and cost standpoint is based on three KPIs. We look at whether the shipments have optimized loadings. We looked at whether the equipment are performing, and we look at whether the personnel is trained. Three KPIs, very simple. We measure those KPIs very precisely, and we found, and our customers have found, that thanks to the three KPIs, we can help improve the environmental performance, which is good for the planet and the people. We're back to the 3Ps. Shippers can also improve the delivery quality and the security of on-time delivery, which is good to the people and the company's profit, and overall improve the economic performance of their transport and supply chain.
Thank you, Christophe. Can you go ahead and explain more in depth about the solution?
Yeah, let's go in the details now. I'm lifting the hood and you're going to see the engine. We have three inputs to our collaborative solution. First one was mentioned by Milian initially during this presentation. We have the input, that methodology provided by scientific universities, research centers, and validated by Bureau Veritas as compliant with the European Union. Second input, we receive the shippers' transport flows. These can be provided by either their ERP or their TMS, those information systems, or if transportation management is subcontracted by their 3 or their 4 PL. Pretty simple information. We can receive a single Excel spreadsheet if needed, or we can, of course, use API to interface our two systems and receive the information automatically. However, the information are simple. We collect weight information or numbers of parcel in case, numbers of containers. We collect the distance information or the point of departure and the point of arrival if needed. We gather information on the route in case there are some milk run and we need to calculate the exact distance, the mode of transport, and the name of the carrier. Pretty simple information that every shipper knows, because every shipper is paying the invoices for the carriers and has collected that information internally or even has produced that information internally. Third source of information, the carrier's fleet labeling. TK'Blue's role is to go to the carriers and label the fleets. We collect information such as fuel type, fuel consumption, the equipment in use, loading rates and empty runs, and the training of the staff. So 3 sources of information that go into the system. The system then will provide 4 major services. So first one is, of course, that online platform, which is secured. It's a cloud-based information that will provide entire visibility on the worldwide transport flows of a given shipper. If needed, we will have done some data modeling in order to break segments of a given end-to-end long transportation. Second service, we provide the measurement of the CO2 and the greenhouse gases emissions, as well as mentioned, the societal impact. That is what is required by the regulations from most large companies, or that is required by sustainability policies by most board of directors. Third service we provide is the fleet labeling. We provide to the carriers, as well as to the shippers, the fleet scoring. We allow the carrier to upload their certification and various documents required either by law or by their contract with the shippers. And we provide a carrier directory which indicates the environmental performance of the carriers and allows the procurement department to source new carriers if needed. The last service is the cockpit or the dashboard. That's the key. That's where the benefits will be generated. What I mean by that is the cockpit allows your team, the shippers team, to do some analytical work, to do some benchmarking of one carrier versus the other, or one business unit of your company versus the other, one product versus another, one country performance versus another. That whole benchmarking allows to identify best performers and also areas of improvement. Areas of improvement on which you can decide to steer some improvements, some initiatives, define some actions, for example, actions with the carriers, track the improvement, issue some automated reporting, and feed your communication stream. That might sound complicated, but TK'Blue has simplified, summarized the performance in 3 indexes. The first one is the TKT index. That gives the quality of the carrier's fleet. It's an index between 0 and 100, and you know, therefore, that a given carrier or a given fleet working for you, a carrier might have several fleets working for a given shipper. That fleet has an index of, say, 88, and it's not as good as another fleet having an index of 92. The second index is the CO2 greenhouse gas index, which measures the CO2 and greenhouse gases emission. That is an index that provides the kilogram of CO2 equivalent as per the new regulation per ton per kilometer. So you can compare around the world, and for any product per ton per kilometer, the actual CO2 equivalent emission, and you can see where you're performing better, where you're not performing as good. The third index is the TK Euro index, which provides the cost of that transportation to the society. That's not what is paid by the shipper. That's the cost onto the society of NOx, SOx, particles, noise, and so on. All the data in the database in the system is simplified down to 3 indexes that everyone can understand easily, everyone can use easily, that you can communicate easily, that you can sum, average, sort, extract as needed. Jennifer, this is a view of our user interface. I just selected one view because this is the high-level view. Although, as Milan mentioned, we work from the bottom up and we provide lots of detail, there is a summary view that you can easily use to understand your business, your environmental performance, and if needed, communicate with carriers or with your management. For example, here, we see that the shipper here has 1,503,000,000 ton kilometers analyzed, that shipper has produced 103 million kilogram of CO2 equivalent for a given period. I suppose this is year 2017. And that the performance is 72.68 grams of CO2 equivalent per ton moved per kilometer moved. That is the index of this given shipper. Next year, the shipper will try to reduce the index, say, to 71. How are they going to do that? But for example, using some of the detailed indicator beneath and work in a collaborative manner with the carriers. Let's talk about benefits now, Jennifer. We say PPP, Planet, People, Profit. I want to talk about the profit here and how the TK'Blue services boost the performance of the company. We have gathered, or our customers, I should say, have gathered the gains in 4 families. The first one are transport gain. They're quite obvious because we've been measuring the performance of transport operation. And the indexes that we're going to produce and provide will help improve purchasing, will help improve the quality and the management of the transport operation. Second family of gains, compliance gains. Our information and the documentation collected from the carriers allow to manage risk better and to meet regulations. Third benefit, financial benefits, whether it is in obtaining better quotations thanks to the rating of the carrier, whether it is about checking the invoices with the routes, the kilometers and the ton moves, or reducing inventory thanks to a better supply chain, or promoting the stock value of your company thanks to a better image. Last family of gains, image gains, thanks to using our data and communicating them internally or externally. Our customers report a return on investment of 15 in year 1 and even better in year 2. Based on that experience, TK'Blue has built a financial model to assess the return on investment, and our experts are at your disposal to run a return on investment seminar, which will take into account the specifics of your company transport activities and budgets. Last, Jennifer, before I hand over, I'd like to mention that the benefits are not only with the supply chain organization. This simple schematic shows that yes, indeed, supply chain earns a lot of those golden stars, but also the CSR department of the company, the sales, which will benefit from a better supply chain, the procurement and finance organization, and also legal and compliance organization. That explains the return of investment of 15, and that also explains why so many of our customers adopt the solution and start with a smaller, I would say, a project, a pilot, benefiting to one of the division, not always supply chain, and then expand the use of the TK'Blue solution to more countries, more transport modes, and more benefits across the organization.
Thank you, Christophe. I can see how TK'Blue's customers see a return on investment, which is linked to benefits, not only across the supply chain, but also for companies' divisions like CSR, legal, finance, communication, and marketing, and also in human resources. It's easy to deploy, and the solution provides your company with fact-based results. I have a question before we move on forward to our questions and answers. The interface that you showed us, is that something that we see within the platform? Is it visible to?
I think you mentioned the screenshot of the solution. Yes, this is the standard, I would say, entry page of the solution that every user will access into, and then we'll start digging deeper if they want to do some analytics or benchmarks. But indeed, yes, this is the real life.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and take some time for questions now. You can go ahead and type in your questions into the question box or slash chat box, and we'll go ahead and take a moment for that. All right, so I have a question from Jim. Jim asks, how long would it take to deploy?
Well, that's a fair question. Yes, it's a very simple solution to deploy. As I said, the first input is your transport flow data file that can be extracted from an ERP, or it might be already available somewhere in Excel within your company, depending on what is your transport information system. That extract can be easily analyzed and modelized within the TK'Blue organization in less than a week. Once it is uploaded in the system, the shipper already has access to the results. So the shipper sees the CO2 footprint, the famous 3 index that I mentioned earlier. And then we will go out to the carriers and we will label the carriers one after another. And as we label the carrier and we learn about their fleets, the benefits of having better fleets, for example, will be backdated into the solution, and the numbers, even if they were produced quickly after the kickoff, will be improved over time. But we have very large customers worldwide that went on for a worldwide deployment of the solution with millions of transport of operation, and that deployed in less than 3 months. We have some smaller customers or customers who deployed in a given country or for a given business unit, and that completed the deployment in a week or 2.
All right, thank you, Christophe. We have a question from Iveta. Iveta asked, what's the business model?
Oh, the business model, I understand, that means pricing. Let's talk pricing. Let's talk dirty. Well, it's very simple. The carrier's labelization is free. I repeat, you heard properly, is free. There is no payment for any of the carriers, whether they are truck, road, air, sea, maritime, barge, train. It's free for all the carriers because we really want the carriers to collaborate, and they're going to promote their good performance and their image vis-à-vis the shippers by labeling their fleet. The business model relies on sharing some of the profit with the shippers. We charge the shippers a standard price of 1 per thousandth of their transport budget. So I mean 0.1%. So for example, if they have the shipper has a 20 million euro transport budget, then TK'Blue will charge 20,000 euros for the solution. 20 million budget, 20,000 euro fee for yearly subscription to the TK'Blue solution.
Thank you, Christophe. So we have another question from Elena. Elena is asking, due to the facing an ever-changing business environment, what can we expect in a tight market?
Yes, the transportation business is booming, and that's very different from the year 2009 and 2010 and 2011, especially in the trucking industry. The market has been very tense in North America and has become very tense in Europe, Western Europe, since 2017. So yes, the prices are going up, and yes, it can be difficult to negotiate on pricing with the carriers. Our solution brings that return on investment of 15, not only partly, but by far not only on reducing the cost of sourcing services. Yes, the TK'Blue index, especially the TKT, can be used in request for proposal and can help negotiate better pricing. And I think that's what Elena is referring to. but there's so many additional benefits to the solution as described in the previous slide that even if there's no room for price negotiation, there are significant benefits, especially on the quality of transportation, on the reduction of the numbers of kilometers, so the distance, on improving the loading rates. Those are real quality improvement that will bring hard cash, but that not in a conflictual situation with the carriers around price, which are more in a collaborative way to work with them in saving both cost, so benefiting profit for both companies, and also saving the environment.
All right, so far it looks like we've covered all of our questions. Are there any more questions to ask? Okay, looks like we don't. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I want to say thank you to everyone. We appreciate you being here. I would just like to quickly mention that our next webinar is Thursday, July 5th at 1:30 p.m. and that is London time. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Do not hesitate to share the replay of this webinar. The link is at the top of the page.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.